What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Rock Fantasy Files. I'm James, your host. You know me from playing bass in Crucial Pain and being a clerk at Disc and Dat Record Store in Bethel, Connecticut. Stephen can't make it tonight. Stephen was once again arrested for exposing himself at an Alluviette concert. Uh,
Never learned.
and he never learns. So we're thoughts and prayers with Steven. We're sending him some bail money and hope everything works out fine for him. Hey, do you guys remember when we did a whole bunch of fucking Iron Maiden versus Judas Priest episodes? And then we just kind of like stopped? Well, we're going to do that again. We happened to stop at an era of both bands that I personally very much enjoy. That is the Blaze Bayley era of Iron Maiden and the Ripper Owens era of Judas Priest. So, me and Ovi and Count Ralphus and Christian are going to talk about the Blaze era and the Ripper era. And we are going to take all four albums and rank them, starting from our least favorite to our most favorite. What do you guys think? You ready?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So I will start with, how about let's start with Count Ralphus. What's
All
your
right.
number four and your number three?
All right. So my number four is got to be Demolition 2001. I had tickets to see them on this tour when they were playing the Roseland in New York City, and it was in 2001, and 9/11 happened, and I had tickets right when that happened. So it was the only show I had that got postponed, and it was supposed to be Judas Priest with Iced Earth opening up. And when they rescheduled it,
Wow.
it ended up being Judas Priest with Anthrax opening up when John Bush was singing for Anthrax. So
Nice.
I would have like preferred the seen the Iced Earth at that point, but yeah. So I mean, this album I think it was a big letdown from their previous one, Jugulator. It starts off really good though. Machine Man, upbeat. It's got like this Metallica kind of riffing, but it's not bad. One on One I think was great. I really like that song. Bring It On. Um, just catchy, memorable. Then Hell is Home. It's a bit mellow, but still kind of cool. Jekyll and Hyde, I like that one a lot, but then the chorus is kind of weak. Close to You, didn't care for that one. Devil Digger, not crazy for that one. Bloodsuckers, that one's okay. In Between was nothing special. Feed on Me, meh. Subterfuge, meh. Lost and Found, that song sucked. I thought that was like the worst one. And Cyberface, I really didn't like. I didn't like Metal Messiah. Um, then I listened to the bonus tracks. What's My Name? I thought that was kind of lame. I was, there was a couple good songs on this, but then it kind of goes downhill. I don't know if they were trying to like keep up with the times. It seems a little too modern. It didn't have that Priest feel, except for on the heavier parts of the album. I thought they kind of had the Priest sound, but he doesn't do like as much of the high vocals on this compared to Jugulator. Jugulator I thought was really good. So yeah, that would be my number four, and then my number three. I'm going to go to Virtual 11, 1998, their 11th LP. I thought Future Real was really great, upbeat, good leadoff track. Angel and the Gambler is a bit happy sounding, but catchy and memorable. Lightning Strikes Twice I thought was okay. Klansman's a great one, really cool epic song. One of the ones that Bruce would sing too, on the X Factor and Virtual 11, there's actually like 5 songs that Bruce would sing live for a while. Like I seen him on the Ed Hunter tour, and it was before they put out Brave New World, and they actually played a bunch of these songs. I was kind of shocked. A lot like Rob Halford would never do any of the Ripper songs. Just
That's right.
totally acts like those albums don't exist, and a lot of bands are like that. But he does the Klansman. He did Future Real, and then on X Factor he did the Aftermath. He did Man on the Edge, Lord of the Flies, and Sign of the Cross. He did 4 songs, or no, he didn't do Aftermath. It was there was 5 songs altogether. But when Two Worlds Collide, I thought was cool. It had good leads. The Educated Fool is okay, upbeat, but nothing special. Don't Look Into the Eyes of a Stranger is okay. Picks up in the last 3 minutes. Come Estas, Amigos, not a strong closer for the album, I thought. I thought they kind of ended on a weak mark for the album there. But I like Blaze's vocals. I love Ripper's vocals. And this it's when they're being like heavy, I seem to really like it. And when they're playing around a little bit, I don't like it. But yeah, that's my 4 and 3.
Cool.
One from each.
There you go. Ovi,
Yeah.
what do you got?
The last one is gotta be Demolition. I mean, for me, I just don't know what they're really doing because they used 2 years on recording that album. You would think they would squeeze out a little more, I guess, diversity and a little more melodies. It's almost like, I don't know, we want to, like Ralph was saying, we are trying to keep up with the times and be like, because speed metal and kind of that was big at the time, and power metal was big. So, um, but contrary to Ralph, I really like the slower tunes like Hell is Home and Lost and Found, because the reason I like them is because you get to hear more of Tim Ripper's vocals. Kind of like he's known for his high pitched scream, but he can also sing, and he has a lot of melody in his vocals, and I think that shines through better in those two songs than the rest of the album. As for my number
Wow,
three,
Lost and Found. That song was the worst out of all of these songs.
I think
That's so
so.
crazy. Like that was the worst song out of all 4 albums. I listened to all 4 of them today, and that's the one song that I was just like, wow, what the fuck is this? That does not sound anything like Judas Priest. I hated that song. So weird that you
Well,
picked
I
that.
guess the song is kind of like, it's more a self-reflecting song, kind of like
Yeah,
I've lost your
I'm
way
not
and
reading
kind
the
of try
lyrics.
to.
I wasn't reading the lyrics to any of them really, so
Okay.
I can't really talk about what they were talking about, but I just didn't think it had like that priest vibe at all to it.
Of course, Lost and Found is kind of a very, I guess, man kind of ballad, because it shows the view from our side, kind of like how it feels to be, and if you lost your way and stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's nice to have ballads that aren't about a certain topic, but you can actually, because it's kind of refreshing, I think. For number three, though, I have what's the name? Is it Jugulator?
Jugulator.
Yeah. Um, the two difference between these two albums, I feel, is probably over the time, because I feel that on Demolition, Tim have sings better because he has had more time in that. The first album is really cool. It's kind of got a cooler artwork, of course. It got a cooler uh, kind of concept to the song titles, I guess. And but the last track on that album, the epic track,
Cathedral
Cathedral
Spires.
Spires.
yeah, that one is I think is the most productive song they had in that period, because it has so much diversity. You have a lot of different passages through the song. So, like Ralph said about domination, it's pretty flat. It doesn't have anything that makes you remember which song is which. But Cathedral Spears, that's really you make you remember that song. So that's about my 3 and 4 for me.
Cool. Christian,
Hey,
what do you got?
right. So number 4 for me, I'm gonna keep the wave going with Demolition from Judas Priest. Yeah, I didn't really like this album too much. I like the first song. It's probably the best one, Machine Man. That was the one that, like, yeah, that was pretty good. And then from there, it just kind of falls flat. The only other song that I kind of like was Bloodsuckers, but there was nothing else here that was really, I don't know, doing anything for me. And yeah, like Ralph was what we were saying before. It's kind of like, I would say it's like the least Priest sounding Priest album that they ever did. I think, even I don't know, like even something like Turbo, I think sounds more like classic Priest than what this does, even though that's going in a completely different direction there.
No, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. And then number 3 for me is going to be Virtual 11 from Iron Maiden. I do like the opening track is all right, Future Real, and I do like the Klansman. I think that's an excellent song. I actually do prefer it though with Bruce's vocals over Blaze Bayley's vocals personally.
Sure.
And actually, when I first heard I didn't get that album when it came out, but I remember I got after Brave New World came out, and they did whatever the Live in Rio or whatever DVD, and
Yes.
they had that song on that concert, and I'm thinking like, this isn't off Brave New World. Like, where did this song come from? And then I looked, I'm like, oh, that's one of the Blaze songs. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, some of the songs, like, there's some good soloing on Virtual 11, but I feel like some of the songs just kind of like drag on a bit, like the Angel and the Gambler. It just seems like it just goes on, and it's just like goes on and on and on, and doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, so that's my number 4, my number 3.
Excellent. And welcome, Tony Dio. Thanks for stopping in, dude.
Hell yeah. How we doing this, man?
So we are ranking the 4 albums,
Okay.
4 and 3, then 2 and 1.
All right.
And we just went through 4 and 3. I haven't given mine yet, so if you want to go, I'll go. Whoever, it doesn't fucking matter.
It don't make any difference. Go ahead and go. I'll go after you.
All right, cool.
Collect my thoughts from
I'm
him.
going to keep the wave going, like Christian said. And I am going to put Demolition is my number 4 of these 4 records.
Such a bad cover.
It's really, yeah, the album cover kind of stinks. I mean, it was cool to have that black space down there to get Ripper to sign it for me, but yeah, the album cover kind of fucking stinks. Some good tunes on here though. Machine Man is a good song. I just think the lyrics are fucking dumb. One on One is a really great song. I like Hell is Home a lot. Jekyll and Hyde's cool. I'm kind of with Ralphus on Lost and Found. I thought that's a fucking weak one. Bloodsuckers is cool, and I like Devil Digger a lot. And Feed on Me is a badass song. And I actually really like the closer on this, Metal Messiah. I don't think this album actually, absolutely stinks. It's not one I reach for constantly, but it's a pretty good Priest album. It's, for me, it's better than fucking Turbo and Ram It Down, personally. Number 3, I'm riding a wave with you guys. Virtual 11. It's a good one. I like Future Real. I like the Klansman a lot. When Two Worlds Collide is pretty good. Don't Look to the Eyes of a Stranger. It's good stuff. I really love Steve Harris's writing style and his bass playing. There's really not an Iron Maiden album where I'm like, ugh, I can't even get through a minute of it. Even the new stuff, the new albums get torn apart, Senjutsu and Book of Souls. I like it all because I like Steve Harris's style. So yeah, this one doesn't suck. It's not a favorite. I don't reach for it often, but when I'm going through the catalog, it is really cool to sit and listen to. It's got some great moments in it. So that's my 4 and 3. Tony Dio from North Kakalaki.
I like that
Hey,
shirt.
who signed that? Who signed that one too? You were holding up. Who signed that?
Blaze Bayley. I met him at the Chance. He played there in 2017, and I got him to sign both albums for me.
Oh, cool.
Cool. I like your Defend Jugulator shirt. That is awesome. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'll raise the flag for Ripper era. That's some good stuff. All right, so number 4 for me, I'm gonna go with Virtual 11. I've never cared for this record. I remember when it first came out, I just was like, God, what is it? I mean, the production to me is not that great on it, for one. And I just was never been a fan of this record. And I remember I was writing for a zine at the time. I had to review it, and I remember I pretty much trashed it. Angel and the Gambler has to be the worst Maiden song, or one of the worst. And I think it's just because of that repeated, don't you think I can save you, over and over. And it's like, I'm going, God, man. I mean, they went from writing all these really cool lyrics and complex storylines to repeating the same line over and over. And I'm like, I don't get it. Maybe they just need some help with something. I don't know. It's just, it was a weird time for metal during this period. So I guess they were just trying to do whatever and keep going. Now, looking back at this now, I actually pulled this out and listened to it not long ago. And I mean, God, man, The Klansman is such a great song, and Future Real is a great song. But I really started liking those songs when I heard Bruce do them live. And that's when, I was like, okay, that's a good song. Maybe it's just I don't like Blaze singing it or something. When I went back and listened to it not long ago, I was like, okay, well, I like these songs now, and I accept Blaze singing them just as much, because I'm not a person that hates Blaze's vocals. I think he's a good singer. Yeah. Do I think he was the right singer for Iron Maiden at the time? No. And that was definitely proven if you've seen any of the live video of him during those tours. He just could not sing the Bruce stuff very well at all. I know maybe they were trying to go for something different, get a different sound going into like what was happening in the 90s. But I mean, it's not like they went out and made a new metal record or something, when you hear that Steve Grimmett and Michael Kiske were turned down, you go, okay, well, they chose Blaze Bayley, because I knew Blaze from Wolfsbane. I had the Wolfsbane album that was produced by Rick Rubin, right? And that's kind of weird pairing there. But anyhow, I mean, it was a once in a lifetime thing for him, and good for him. So so I'm going with that one. That's number 4, and I got to go X Factor, number 3. I do like some of the stuff on this record when it first came out. I remember the first time I heard Sign of the Cross, I was like, God, he sounds kind of like Messiah Marcolin a little bit from Candlemass.
Wow, I never fucking thought of that.
He really does, especially on that track. I loved Lord of the Flies. I remember having a CD single once for Lord of the Flies, and the B-side was Doctor, a UFO cover. Man on the Edge was a good fast-paced one. I remember that was out. They released that as a single as well. I used to have a bunch of Maiden CD singles. I ended up trading them off. I kind of wish I'd kept them. But and I mean, The Edge of Darkness was pretty cool. And there's some cool stuff on this one, but it's like I said, I got to rate this one somewhere, and it kind of goes below Priest for this situation. So gonna stick with that for sure. I used to have a album flat. Well, it was a promotional thing that they gave out at the label, because I had friends that worked at CMC, and I eventually started working there when they were Sanctuary. But it was a 3D poster of that, and it had LED lighting in Eddie's eyes, and it would light up, and it was autographed by the whole band, and I ended up like selling it. I mean, I kept it for a while. I kept it for a while, but it kept falling off. It was heavy, and it kept falling off the wall. So I just got mad one day. So I'm putting this on eBay. Yeah.
So I wanted to piggyback on something that you said about Blaze not really being the right guy for the job. I think with these two bands and these eras, we see the perfect example of, do you go with a guy that sounds like the guy that just left? Or do you go with a guy that sounds nothing like the guy that just left? And I feel both bands kind of got fucked. And you saw how it was like, oh, Ripper stinks. He's a clone guy. He sang in a Priest cover band. Blaze stinks because he sounds nothing like Bruce Dickinson. So you kind of got the school of thought of like, you're fucked if you do, or you're fucked if you don't. It needs to just be Bruce or Rob.
Yeah.
Or it's
You
got
know?
to be somebody kind of in their range because they got such a catalog that they have to do live. Like if you look at like this live in London, there's only a few of the Ripper songs on it. It's like all like mostly, you know, Rob Halford songs. So he's gonna have to do them live. So they got to look at their catalog. And a band like
Right.
this, if you're a band that's only got 2 albums out, then you could go maybe totally different. Say, you know what, let's try something totally different. Like Ozzy, well, Ozzy and Dio, that was like completely different, and
Yeah.
they had a big catalog too. But so sometimes we're in, you know, Bon and Brian Johnson, pretty different, you know, but and
True.
it was a big catalog too. So sometimes it works. Like I guess you don't know until you try it and see what happens, you know.
That live in London is fucking great too. I love that release.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So Count Ralphus, we're staying with you, and we're
All right,
getting
so
your 2 and 1.
all right, this is where it kind of got hard. The first two were pretty easy, and I didn't really think of like I thought of which two I liked over the other two, but I didn't really think of which one I liked the best. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to I'm gonna go with Jugulator, and I think it's more metal sounding than all of these albums. I think it's the most metal sounding one. I think the problem I have with it is that it seems like they were really following like the Pantera kind of vibe. It's weird that a band they influenced, kind of influencing them back because of that time era. I mean, you got the grunge and all that stuff that's taken over, but then for metal, Pantera is kind of like leading the way in the '90s. And I hear a lot of Pantera throughout it, but I think Ripper sounds amazing on this album. I love his voice. I've seen him on this tour too. I've seen them twice with Ripper, and I seen him on this tour and I thought they were great. And then I seen him 2 more times with Dio Disciples. And for him to be able to do the Halford stuff and do the Dio stuff, it shows how friggin' talented that guy is. But yeah, the title track, I think it's metal as hell. Uh Bloodstained is really great. Real heavy song. Dead Meat, another good one. Death Row, I think is okay. Decapitate's okay. Cool leads. Burning Hell, I like that one a lot. Brain Dead's pretty cool. Abductors, amazing vocals on that one. Bullet Train, cool leads. Always great with Glenn and KK. You could say that for anything that those guys are doing. The Cathedral Spires, I thought was pretty cool. It's got a little bit of Metallica vibe to them. But yeah, it's a lot of groove metal elements and it's more metal sounding than the Maiden, but something about the songs on the X Factor, like Sign of the Cross, cool title track, the start, I mean kickoff track, to start off the new era, very memorable. Lord of the Flies, it's okay, it's mid pace, but Man on the Edge, inspired by the great movie Falling Down. I pulled out my DVD of this. This is such a cool movie if you've never seen it.
Yeah.
Ovi,
yeah.
Ovi, you know this movie?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I think we've all had days like that where we just
Hey,
wanted
yeah,
our Michael Douglas to come out and just take over.
yeah. Well, you think of it, but if you did
Yeah.
it, you don't come back to it. But
Yeah, you think about it anyway.
Fortunes of
I want
War.
breakfast.
Fortunes of War. It's slow. I can't even read my writing. But it picks up. Oh, it's slow, but it picks up in the end. Um, Look for the Truth. There's nothing special. The Aftermath. Cool lyrics. Slow, but boring until the last 2 minutes. Judgment of Heaven. A bit more. A bit more awake on that one. Blood on the World's Hands. Cool bass intro. Cool song. Different. Uh, The Edge of Darkness, this one's really great. Busy, old school vibe. 2 a.m. is cool. The Unbeliever, 8 minutes long, but it's cool. A lot of different parts to it. So yeah, it's really close between Jugulator and the X Factor, but I guess I'll go with the Maiden. And I think like overall I would take the 2 Maiden instead of the 2 Priest just because Demolition was a pretty big letdown. But I do have a Demolition coffee mug up here, if you can see it. I bought that at the show instead of
Nice.
buying a shirt.
Nice.
And I actually
There you
cracked
go.
it before I even got it home. It was like I was drunk and shit. I get home, I take it out of the bag. It's like already cracked, but it's glued together.
Isn't there a 98 Meltdown live album CD?
Yeah,
That's
man.
a great one too.
Got it
Oh,
right
yeah,
here.
yeah.
There you go. That's fucking badass. That's a great live
Yeah.
album.
Yeah, the Live in London was from the Demolition.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, just like the DVD. Yep.
that's right. So, Count Ralphus, thank you for your 4, 3, 2, and 1. OV, what's your 2 and 1?
Yeah. My number 2 is gonna be X Factor. For me, I'm kind of into who makes the songs and kind of, I guess, this obsession I've had since I don't know how, if the band member looked cool, you kind of dug that person because he looks cool, or if he does cool things and stuff, and you read about them in magazine and stuff. So you kind of go to that, it becomes kind of your favorite. So because X Factor doesn't have any of Dave Mary songs, which is automatic fail for me, except the B track on Man of the Edge. There's one song.
You mean
But the album
Adrian Smith? You mean Adrian Smith, right? Because Dave Murray's there, but Adrian Smith's not there on these albums.
yeah, but Dave Mary isn't credited on any of the songs on X Factor, except
Janet creates all the guitars on that. I mean,
yeah, Justice of the Peace is the only song Dave Mary has credit on from
oh,
those sessions, and that's on a B side
well,
for Man of the Edge.
Steve Harris writes everything basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
pretty
there's and Blaze have a lot of credits on X Factor.
Well,
A lot of credits.
yeah, lyrics he writes, but not
Yeah.
songs. He's not.
Yeah,
It's all Steve Harris has always been the main songwriter.
yeah.
Yeah, Steve
As
plays
for the
guitar.
album,
Yeah.
for the album in itself, I really like it because you spend a lot of time, because the artwork is pretty cool. I mean, the artwork
It
is like, yeah, that's because, yeah, it's really how they made it back in '95 is kind of like, it's pretty impressive. I remember back then it was like, how in the hell it looks so real. It looked so real because of the vowels and kind of everything is.
Yeah.
It looks, and they have like the alternative artwork too with the electric chair that they use for all of the flies for some stores, I guess, that found it too graphic. So you could use that as a cover too. For the songs, Fortunes of War, I liked Aftermath, Edge of Darkness, which is based on Apocalypse Now. It's really good atmosphere on it. The Unbeliever, I really like 2 a.m. Yeah, it's a really good album. Also cool inside with like they're having that green light shining up on every member. It looks kind of like sci-fi, kind of like out in space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So for me, my number 1 is going to be Virtual 11. Or wait, in between you have the Virus song that came out in '96.
That's right.
Yeah, and then the Virus
It was on a
song,
compilation, wasn't it?
huh?
That was on one of the compilation. It was
Yeah,
a
the
new
Best of
track.
the Beast. Yeah,
compilation.
came out
Best of
Best
the
of the
Beast.
Beast. But it was a standalone single, the first one since Woman in Uniform, and it's the only Maiden song that has credit of both guitarists, I believe, on the same song.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
I
Nice.
like the song Virus. I think it's really good. I'm going to get back to what if they have put Virus in instead of Angel and the Gambler, I would be happy too.
Yeah.
Because what
Yeah,
Virus
for
would have been
sure.
a good number 2 song on that album. I am not particularly fan of Future Real or Age and the Gambler. Clansman is good. I've seen it live. I've also to Roskilde Festival with I guess close to 100,000 people, and hearing everybody chant "Freedom" is pretty cool. I guess Rock in Rio is the best live version you get of the song because there's a lot of people
Yeah,
shouting "Freedom."
yeah. That's the
Yeah,
one. That's the
absolutely.
version that sold me on it.
Yeah. My favorite songs is gonna be "Lightning Strikes Twice," the Mary song. Also, "When Two Worlds Collide" is the Mary song. I really like that one. "The Educated Fool." I like "Como Estos Amigos." It's based on the Falklands wars at the Falklands. I don't know why they have it in Spanish, but it's about the Falkland Wars. I think it's a really good track. It's very maidenish. It has a very, I guess that's because it's Gears Bailey, and the Gears have a certain. You hear when it's a Gears song, he likes that kind of riffing. You hear it from every song he does. You can pick out a Gears song in a Maiden album. He has that very classical. I guess I really like Gears because he respects that classical Maiden sound. He has never departed from the classical Maiden sound. The rest of the guys, they experiment a little and kind of find their new songs and stuff. But Gears, he's straight down meat and potatoes Maiden, and he is wild on the stage. I mean, that
Yes,
guitar
he
hasn't
is.
flown to space. I don't understand because he tripped, he fold over. He's kind of like he got so much self irony, and he's like a clown, and I guess almost like Bruce Dickinson kind of get irritated sometimes because Bruce Dickinson is supposed to be the clown, and Johnny Gears
Right.
just pulls it off without trying. It's kind of cool. So yeah, the Virtual 11 for me, is number one. I like it. I grew up with this album, so this was around the time when I started to kind of go a little deeper into the music. I just didn't watch how cool the artwork was and like just listen to it and kind of. This is when I really start to like go into more like what it means, what is this, what is that, and the artwork too is interesting. I remember it got a lot of shit because of that little boy with the virtual glasses on. But if you look past the city in the background in hell, it's a lot of cool stuff going on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see some stuff. Yeah.
Me,
Yeah, Maiden's
it's the best cover out of all four of them to me. I think it's way better than this one. To me, this looks like it was made out of Play-Doh. I know people like it, but I don't like it. I like
Yeah.
artwork more, like actual artwork. I mean, it's cool that they try to do something different, but I don't know, something about it looks a little goofy to me. And the Judas Priest ones, I mean, the Demolition's just ridiculous, but that the pixelated Jugulator, I guess it would look cool if it was like in a video game, and it's like I guess that's what the idea was, to make it look like it's part of a video game or
No,
something, but it's
Right.
actually, that was the cover that's underneath the tray. That was
Yeah.
the cover in Europe. If you bought it on SPV in Europe, not CMC in the US, you got this cover. Somebody at CMC decided to do it to enlarge it, and it looks to me like these bootleg vinyls that come out now that were only on CD, and then they blow the cover up and it's all
Yeah.
pixelated. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
never
didn't
understand.
realize that.
I have an unofficial version of this on vinyl, and they actually put that on the cover instead of that. They give you that on the inside on a printout sheet. And I'm like, why didn't you use it for the cover? I mean,
Yeah.
it's a freaking bootleg. You didn't have to answer to anybody. You could have done what you wanted to it.
They probably thought that that's what the band wanted it to look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also on Future Real, Derek Riggs. He made a Future Real artwork that they could actually have used, which is really cool. It's kind of like the skull with like kind of
Mm-hmm.
big power transistors that keeps the skull like up with the power in the middle.
Yeah. I've seen
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Instead of, because the artwork on the singles for Virtual Real is, I don't know what they were quite thinking there, but I think wasn't it around this time no, where did they have a fallout with Derek Riggs? Because they had a fallout with him before, because he's not the one that did Fear of the Dark. He did the singles for Fear of the Dark, the Be Quick or Be Dead, with the newspaper, and
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's the last one he did. And there was some. It irritates me because they know Derek Riggs is the best Maiden artwork maker. I
Yeah.
mean, Can't you get past your ego, Steve Harris, and get him back?
There was a there was a CD single that I used to have for Angel and the Gambler that had it was a cool picture like Eddie like in front of a casino.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cool one.
And
Yeah.
Martin Birch retired right before these albums with Blaze got made too. So that's they lose Adrian Smith, Bruce Dickinson, and Martin Birch, and then
Martin
you also
Birch.
lose Derek Riggs. It's like it's such a big chunk of like what Maiden is.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
lost
Derek
at the
Riggs
same
was
time.
Good point.
self-done. Derek Riggs was self-done. They could have just gotten their shit together and kept him, but that's their own fault. Something about Blaze Bayley, you're talking about him and why he was picked and stuff, because if you saw the live footage from those tours, he is a master at forgetting lyrics. And he does this all the time. It seems like he's feeling, I don't know if it's too big a crowd for him. I think it's too much pressure for Blaze. In studio,
was.
it's fine, but the Maiden audience was just too big for him
Well,
because
going from little clubs to playing in front of that many people all of a sudden, you know. But
Yeah.
when they came
you know,
around, when they came around here though, they were playing pretty small little places. They played
yeah.
a place called the Birch Hill in New Jersey, and I always regret not going because I know somebody who went and they ended up meeting Steve Harris because it was such a small spot that you could actually like meet him and stuff. So it would have been
Oh,
cool,
wow.
but at the time I just didn't have an interest, and now I regret it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They were playing smaller venues in the US, but in Europe they were still playing. They were still huge. They were doing,
Oh, yeah.
huge arenas. They were doing festivals, and just what Ovi just said about Blaze having issues with the lyrics. I don't know if I've collected bootleg stuff for years. I had the bootleg video of them playing. I think it was in Chile that they were
Yeah.
playing, and somebody in the audience is spitting on Blaze, and he stops to show and says, this guy's spitting on me, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And the whole band are like a gang. I mean, they throw their instruments down and they're ready
Yeah.
to scrap with this dude. They're gonna jump down and take this dude out.
Yeah.
But it was crazy.
Cool. So
Yeah,
Christian,
of course, I could. I know. I remember around the time because a lot of us wanted Paul Di'Anno back. I guess it would have been good with Paul Di'Anno, but I don't think because he backed out too because of the crowd getting too big. He's getting too heavy on the juice, and
yeah.
I don't think because he is a punker, he likes the small venues too. So
Yeah,
I guess
it
it's
didn't
big
never work.
shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Christian,
Sorry.
All right.
what do you
Ready
got,
for
dude?
number
2 and
two?
1.
Number 2 and number 1. So we just spent a lot of time, past couple minutes, talking about Blaze Bayley and Iron Maiden. So that's going to be my number 2, and that's the X Factor. So it was kind of when this album came out, like that was the time when I first discovered Iron Maiden. But the first album that I got was Somewhere in Time. So I was already kind of like stuck on that era of Maiden. I wasn't really going for what they were just putting out at that time. But I did get the compilation Best of the Beast, and that does have Man on the Edge. It has that song Virus on it. I remember liking that song, I remember liking the song Man on the Edge. It's probably my favorite off the album, but at the time I still didn't feel inspired to go out and buy the album, but it's something that I've listened to since then. But yeah, I think that song's pretty good. I like Edge of Darkness is also another song that I really liked on that one. But yeah, speaking of Blaze, like I think he's a decent singer, but he just like someone's been saying, I don't think his voice just didn't sound right with Iron Maiden. I just a lot of this like some of the other ones we were talking about before, like the Klansmen and some of that, I just think like it sounded better with Bruce singing. But at the same time, like I think if Bruce had sang these albums, I don't think they would have been any more popular like at that time period, because it wasn't just Maiden itself, but metal in general just wasn't really, the thing that, at least in the US, that people were really paying attention to. So then that leads me to the number 1, which is going to be Jugulator, of course. But yeah, so this was another one that like at the time I was into. I probably had most of the Priest catalog on CD by that point. And, having another singer coming into Priest who sounded like, or very similar to Halford, I couldn't quite get on board with it, but it's something I, since gone back and listened to and find out that, like, no, this is a pretty good record. They've got some good songs on here. Burn in Hell is probably one of my favorite ones, and I was glad to see the past couple times that KK came around that he included that one in his set list. Cathedral Spire is the last track. This is a cool epic one. Bullet Train, it's another pretty good song. I mean, overall, it's a decent record. But I think it's like with both Maiden and Priest, I think it's like Halford and Dickinson, it's like their voice is just so tied into like the image in your head when you think of those bands, that putting someone else in there, no matter how talented that they are, how good they are, or what have you, you're never, it's hard to get an audience, I guess, to accept it, accept the new guys coming in. But so yeah, those are my picks.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Christian. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thanks.
I am going to go next, and then Tony Dio. So my 2 is going to be the X Factor. Killer album. I remember this first coming out and hearing, I think it was Sign of the Cross or Man on the Edge on a Concrete Corner sampler. And I remember that being the thing, like, oh shit, go to the record store, get the Concrete Corner sampler. There's a brand new Iron Maiden song with the new singer. We got to hear it. And I remember bringing it home and going, you know what? I don't hate this. It's different, but it doesn't stink. And I remember playing it for my neighbor who lived upstairs. He was teaching me how to play guitar and stuff. And he was like, dude, this is fucking shit. What are you, you trying to tell me this? It's Bruce Dickinson or nothing. Fuck this. Fuck. And I just was like, sorry, dude, but no, I dig it. It still sounds like Maiden, just with somebody else on vocals. I like Man on the Edge. I like Lord of the Flies. Sign of the Cross is so great. I really like 2 a.m. I think that's an
great one.
underrated track on this. Blood on the World's Hands is really cool too. Very epic. I feel like Tony Dio mentioned before about the repetitive chorus thing. I feel like with the Blaze Bayley era is where they really started a lot of that with the same fucking chorus over and over again. Certain albums like A Matter of Life and Death have a lot of that in it. What's the fucking song on Dance of Death? No More Lies. Right?
Oh, yeah.
That chorus over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's the only critique I would ever give Iron Maiden is like, guys, enough with the fucking choruses. Chill out, cut the fat, and fucking
Dream of Mirrors.
Yeah, that one too, man.
Yeah.
Fucking it's just this. I feel like this is where it started with the super repetitive choruses a lot. But all that being said, it's still fucking Steve Harris. It's still Iron Maiden. It's still pretty goddamn great. Yeah, there's my number 2.
I think No More Lies could have been on Virtual 11.
Yeah, it could have.
If you think about the structure of the song, you think
It could have.
It seems like it's a song that's been in the band for a while, because it's different from the rest of the album.
Yeah, you never know. That could be one Steve was writing when Blaze was in the band still. Number 1, I wonder what it's gonna be. Jugulator, of course. This is a at least top 5 Judas Priest record for me. If not, sometimes I rank it a little higher. I'd put it in the top 4, maybe. Just so good, just so fucking heavy and fucking eviscerating. I remember when this came out, going to the record store and getting a cassette sampler that had Bullet Train on it. And I remember the dude behind the counter being like, yo, Judas Priest are destroying your boys in Metallica right now. Because at the time, Load was brand new. And this had come out and it's like, dude, Priest is heavier than Metallica. How is that happening? What universe are we living in? And it was the universe of fucking Jugulator, man. Bloodstained is great. Dead Meat, Death Row, I love. Decapitate, Burn in Hell, it's all great. It's all fucking great. There's nothing on here where I'm like, that's boring. Skip that. I love all 10 tracks. And of course, like everybody said, Cathedral Spires is just so good. This is a killer album. It's again in my top 4. So there's my number 1. And now Tony Dio in North Kakalaki. What do you got? 2 and 1.
Number 2, I'm going with Demolition. I like this record. I've always liked it. And I don't think it's that far removed from Jugulator, but it's more melodic than Jugulator. Jugulator's got just heavier songs. Machine Man's great. Loved One on One. Hell is Home is great track. Great. Devil Diggers, cool. Bloodsuckers. Feed on Me might be my favorite track on this one, actually. I loved Metal Messiah. I did see him on this tour. They played a venue in Washington, D.C. called The Nation that's no longer there. It kind of looked like Thunderdome the way it was set up. So it was kind of cool to see him there. It was a really, really good show. And, I'm a fan of the Ripper era. A lot of people just kind of shrugged it off, and I always kind of champion for it. Like I said, I think they did what they had to do. They kept going. They got heavier. The production on this album is kind of strange. They started around the turbo era with this synthesizer sounding guitars, and even as they went into Painkiller, the guitars still have a kind of they're very pitchy sounding. They don't really sound like a SG and a Flying V through a Marshall anymore. It's got a more of a processed sound, and that definitely continued on as they went into the Ripper era. Because it's like James saying, it's kind of got that power groove thing going on. Or Count was saying, it's the Pantera influence is definitely there on these records. So that's going to put me at number 1 is going to be Jugulator. Moving into that, here's I think what James said a while ago about the cassette sampler. I had the cassette sampler. There's a CD sampler. It has Bullet Train and Bloodstained on it, and of course you get the full cover on the back of there, like it should have been released.
The cassette sampler just had Bullet Train on
it. Okay. Jugulator. I mean, the title track's great. Love Bloodstained, Dead Meat, Death Row, Decapitate, Burning Hell. I mean, I made a music video for that. If you guys have never seen it, that was really cool. Yeah. And like you said, I'm glad that they pulled that back out and started playing it into KK's Priest stuff. And I was really hoping, when I heard he got Ripper as the singer, I was like, yeah, I hope they go back and do some of that stuff. But yeah, Bullet Train, Cathedral Spires, just a fantastic song there for sure. I did see him on this tour. I saw the first date of the US tour. Now you got to think, this record came out in 1997. So that was 7 years after Painkiller. Bands were still doing albums every year or every 2 years at that period. And they waited, 7 years between albums. Rob Halford had already done 2 Fight records and the 2 record by then. So, they came back out. They had something to prove. They were like, they got to come out and be super heavy and champion for metal, because metal was so much more underground than old school metal, But I guess they wanted to have some of that power groove sound, and they kind of wanted to have some modern edge to them. But if you think about it, by then Pantera was kind of old news, But yeah, I saw the first date of the tour. It was at the Boathouse in Norfolk, Virginia, which is a smaller venue. It's a concert hall. It's no longer there. So you got to think, the last time they played, they were playing arenas, and then they're into theaters and clubs.
Yeah.
because things had just totally changed. But yeah, it was a great show. I remember we got there, and I don't remember who opened the show at all. I can't remember
I
who
don't
was
remember.
touring.
I don't remember
Mindset.
who.
Mindset opened the show.
Oh,
Like
Yeah,
I
Mindset.
didn't. I didn't even remember who opened up
It
when I
was
seen them.
Mindset, yeah, because it was like a modern metal band. I remember. I just couldn't remember who it was. Yeah, Mindset was the band.
I had seen them at the Chance in Poughkeepsie. So you're saying like they were going from arenas and big open spaces
Yeah.
and stuff to
To a
the
theater.
Chance, but then
Yeah.
but then by Demolition they came back around. It was like a smaller, like a bigger place. I mean, the Roseland was a lot bigger than like the Chance was. And I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you, you seen him on Demolition Hammer? Do you remember who opened on that tour?
I don't remember. I sure don't. And like you
Because I was
said, it
saying it
was a
before.
bigger venue there as well. It was more like that venue was more like Roseland size venue, with a balcony and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said
But
before you
yeah,
joined how I went to that show. I had tickets on 9/11, and that was the only show that got canceled because of 9/11. So I didn't know if you had the same. And I was supposed to see Iced Earth opening up, and then by the time it rescheduled, it was Anthrax with John Bush singing. I was just wondering if it was the same situation with you.
it may have been Anthrax because I saw them a bunch of times. I just lost count. Here's a 8x10 promo photo from the CMC promo for that lineup that I kept. And when, like I said, I worked at Sanctuary, and I was there at the end when we were packing up everything and the company was basically downsizing. And I actually found this in a box and I kept it. It's a little, let's see if I can get it where it's not so much light on it. It's a caricature drawing. It kind of reminds me of Draw the Line by Aerosmith a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
The cover, but it's the Ripper era. And I found that and I was like, oh, I got to keep that. That's cool. I actually took a picture of it and showed it to Ripper Owens once. He goes, oh man, I'd like to have a copy of that. And I was like, well, next time I come see you, I'll make you a copy and bring it to you. But I've yet to see him. I did see him. I did see the KK's Priest, but I didn't bring anything, and I didn't meet him either. But yeah, I was telling him actually. I went to see Dio Disciples. No, it wasn't Dio Disciples. It was God. Okay, it was Yulee John Roth and this band that had Craig Goldie in it. I can't remember the name. It was Craig Goldie and Vinny Appice, and I can't remember what they were called, like Knights of something. And they were doing all. No, it was called Knights of something, but it was they were playing all Dio material, and they were opening for Yulee John Roth, and they had the same singer that Roth had. They had the guy, his name slips in my mind right now. He sang for Badlands after Ray Gillen and stuff. But anyhow, after and then also Vinnie Moore was on the show, and this guy was singing in like all the bands and stuff. So I guess they wanted to give him a break. So we're sitting in the lobby of the venue, and Ripper comes walking in, and we started talking to him, and I said, well, what are you doing? He goes, he's managed by Wendy Dio. And she said, Wendy called me and wanted to know if I wanted to go out and sing some Dio for a week to give the other guy a break. So he was out doing it. And then after that, they kind of started doing the Dio Disciples. After that, I think that's kind of what it formed into. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So Tony have seen the first ever Judas Priest show with Tim Ripper Owens. It was the first ever.
Mm-hmm.
And you also
they did Europe first.
Burning Hell and Bullet Train. You got the world debut of those three songs too as well.
Yeah, is that the first one? They didn't do Europe first? Okay.
No, the Boathouse is the first ever with Tim Ripper. Okay. So you have seen history.
I knew it was the first US date. I thought maybe they'd done Europe before that, but yeah.
No, they didn't do anything in 97 live. So this is the first ever show. It's in January 30th, January 98.
I also, when we closed at Sanctuary, I found a banner that was massive. I don't know how big this thing was, but it was a banner that said, it had the Judas Priest logo on it. This logo, the logo they used in, because they had kind of altered it a little bit, and it had the logo, and it said, just when you thought it was safe to go out at night, Judas, or I don't think it just said Jugulator, and it had the release date of whatever it was, the release date was on it. And this was like printed at some banner making shop, and it was huge. And I remember somebody that worked there told me, you can have that if you want it. Don't let us see it on eBay. They were just joking. I ended up giving it to a friend of mine. If you guys ever watched Heavy Metal Parking Lot DVD, they go to this dude's house and he's got all these Judas Priest records. That's my friend Jim Powell.
Oh,
And
shit.
I actually I gave it to Jim. I said, hey man, I got something for you. And I mean, it was right after that. It was like 2006 or something. I just gave it to him. And he told me he never had anywhere to display it. One time we were joking around that he should like tack it to his roof of his house. So when the aircrafts fly over, they'll be able to see it. I mean, it's huge, man. Because if he hadn't have taken it, I was just going to cut the Judas Priest logo off and give it to like a local Judas Priest tribute band. So
There
here
you go.
you can hang it up. But what that was made for was they used to do the Foundations Forum that Concrete Marketing used to do every year out in Anaheim. And that year they had that on display when that album was new. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
I went. That was the one year that I went, and they had that out. Yeah.
Awesome.
Keeler had something like that. He had a big Ozfest thing that someone grabbed at one of the shows, and it was like a big banner like that. He used to have it in the store. I don't know. It's too big. Probably took up too much room, but I don't know what he did with it.
Massive, yeah, huge stuff. Yeah.
So our winners. I mean, aren't they all winners? Number 4.
You're all winners.
We're all winners. Number 4, Demolition with 7 points. Number 3, Virtual 11 with 11 points. Number 2, X Factor with 15. And of course, Jugulator with 35,000 points because fuck you guys, that album rules. So I'm going to go around to everybody and ask which one's better, the Blaze era of Maiden or the Ripper era of Priest? What do you say, Count Ralphus?
I think I like the two Maiden albums better, but I think Priest was the better live band in that situation. And one other thing about when I was saying before about how I felt so many Pantera vibes from Jugulator, when you look at what Fight was doing at the same time, I mean, that was super Pantera like influenced, So it's kind of weird how Pantera influences both their bands at the time. But yeah,
Hey, do you guys remember the rumor that was going around once about that Ripper Owens was going to replace Phil Anselmo in Pantera?
I never heard that.
Going around like this was around before Pantera officially broke up. They couldn't get Phil to do anything, and there was a rumor going around. But Ripper just it was asked to him in an interview, and he goes, "No, that's not true." He goes, "But yeah, he would have been honored to do it."
That's when Rob started getting all those tattoos. He started like,
yeah,
he already might have a chance at that job.
So we're taking. What are you saying, Ralph? Are we taking Priest or Maiden?
I would go album wise. I'll go with Maiden, but live, I would rather see Priest at that point.
Okay.
But I have to say Maiden for the albums.
What do you say, Ovi?
Maiden.
Maiden. Excellent.
Yeah.
Christian.
This is a tough one. Yeah, based on my rankings, it's kind of, I don't know. It's hard to say which one's better, but I guess I'm going to lean with Priest on this one.
Very good. I'm going to say Priest as well, but just not by a lot, man. And part of it has to do with I've interviewed Blaze Bayley before, and he's a really fucking cool guy. So I'm letting that kind of influence me a little bit. But I reach for the Priest records way more than I reach for the Maiden records. What do you say, Tony Dio?
Priest always takes it over Maiden to me in my world. But like I said, good stuff. We're talking about singers because the Ripper story was pretty much commercialized in the Rockstar movie supposedly and stuff. Because
I
originally
love that
Priest
movie.
Priest was on board with that, and then I think once they saw the script and saw how cheesy it was, they pulled out and didn't want anything to do with it, according to what I've read. But when priests were auditioning singers, some names I heard that came up, just like I mentioned about Michael Kiske and Steve Grimmett, auditioning for Maiden. I had read where I know Jaymz, the singer from Malice, because Malice always sounded like a poor man's, Judas Priest anyway. He was one of the guys I think that was considered, but also Ralph Sheepers from Gamma Ray. And then Ralph would go out and form a band called Primal Fear that sounds like Painkiller era Judas Priest.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. I remember when that first Primal Fear record came out. I mean, it came out before. When it came out in about '99. I remember I played it for a guy and I told him I had him convinced that Rob was back in Priest, and he was just like, yeah, that because it sounds. I mean, Sheepers does. He sounds more like Halford at times than Ripper does.
He kind of does.
I've seen them a couple times. I've seen him a couple times live, and he looked like a big built version of Rob Halford. He's like
a wrestler version of Rob Halford. Yeah, for sure. But then, like I said, then around that whole time period was, there in the end of the last days of Pantera, those rumors started flying about Ripper was going to replace, Phil Anselmo, and it would have been neat to see. I think they would have sounded more like the power metal era then,
Oh yeah.
or Cowboys from Hell.
Cowboys, yeah, definitely.
I never heard of Steve Grimmett auditioning for Maiden. I remember hearing. I just heard not too long ago how he had a chance to audition for Sabbath, and I thought that was kind of crazy. Like
he talked about that in the interview. That was like during the Tony Martin, I guess, period. But yeah, he was up for the Maiden gig as well, supposedly. Yeah.
Wow.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know though.
Yeah. Probably the same management,
Pantera?
What's that?
What was that about Pantera?
Have you guys heard Tim Ripper Owens sing Pantera songs?
Never heard of him
singing Pantera
song.
Because Tim Ripper Owens, Andreas Kisser, David Ellefson, and
the Metal Allegiance thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Broken.
I could picture him doing the Cowboys from Hell stuff, kind of. I could picture him doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Broken, 5 Minutes Alone. I mean, because Tim Ripper Owens, he's like a chameleon. He can change. That guy is so talented. I mean, it's nuts, really.
He was doing while he was, before he got like the KK's Priest gig, and he's been working for years doing different things, different projects. But like everybody, to make money, he was doing the cover band thing for a while, and he was doing a Disturbed tribute, and he sounded just like the dude from Disturbed on the video that I saw. I mean,
no shit.
Do whatever he's got to do to make a buck, I guess.
Yeah.
His bar didn't do very well, I don't think. He was on Bar Rescue.
He did that great album with Chris Cafferty. He did that Spirit of Fire album, which is really good.
Yeah, that Spirit of Fire record is fucking badass.
Yeah.
And he didn't do the second one, and it's kind of weird because the second one had a guy who sounded like Bruce Dickinson. Like
he also did a record with Richard Christie, the Charred Walls of the Damned.
There's three Charred Walls of the Damned records.
Yeah,
and those are all fucking sick. Where is that?
He's managed the Iced Earth, the album he did.
Yeah. He's managed by Whitney Dio, so I mean, she keeps him working. I mean, you get on those projects to sing on stuff, they pay you up front to do it. It's a way to make a living.
Yeah, Dio Disciples came around here twice. I went both times. It was awesome. Him singing.
Yeah.
All three of those Walls of the Damned records are fucking disgustingly heavy. It's almost like power metal, but with like death metal vibes. It's fucking great. Richard Christie on drums. Steve
got a lot of blast beats and stuff.
Yeah, it's fucking badass. Definitely go check all that shit out. I really loved Ripper in Iced Earth, man. That's when I got into Iced Earth. A buddy of mine that I was jamming with was like, dude, you know the fucking dude that replaced Halford? Yeah. Oh, he sings for Iced Earth now. I'm like, what? And he showed me the Glorious Burden. It was brand new, and that blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this album's so goddamn good.
Yeah, I remember when Matt Barlow left Iced Earth, and the first thing that popped in my mind is, well, Ripper's out of Priest. That's who Schaefer should get, and that's what
There
he
you
did.
go.
I saw him on that tour. Yeah, it was a good show. Yep. They had
That's what it was.
Ralph Santola on second guitar on that, who played with like Obituary and Deicide, and
That's right.
everybody
Yeah.
sadly passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rest in peace.
I was at a show once, and I think it was an Arch Enemy show, and my friend was wearing a Glorious Burden T-shirt, and some dude staggers up drunk, and he points at his shirt, goes, "I played on that record," and he staggered off. And my friend said, "Who the fuck was that?" I said, "That was Ralph Santola, the guy that played on that record."
Oh, that's awesome.
I got a picture with him when he was playing an Obituary. I hung out with him for a minute outside.
Yeah,
I got a funny Richard Christie story. When he first moved up to New York to join the Howard Stern show, I go to this horror convention all the time, twice a year, and he's a big horror fan. And he's there by himself walking around. Nobody seems to know who he is. So I go up to him like, "Hey man, I fucking knew him from Death and stuff, and he was he even played in the Incantation on a tour, but I was talking to him and stuff, and then at the end he ended up running over, getting me Shaun of the Dead. It was like a bootleg of it. It was still like in theaters, and he's like, "Yo, there's a dude over there, he's got Shaun of the Dead, it's the best movie." So he brings me all the way over there and grabs it. We grab it, and I end up buying it. And then at the end of the night, we see him, he's like getting ready to call a cab, and we're like, "Well, where are you staying?" And he's like, "Oh, it's not too far." He's like, but it's like he didn't really know the area and stuff, and we're like, "Yeah, we'll drive you." And if it ain't too far, he's like, "Yeah, it's like 15 minutes away." So he gets in our car with us, and our car breaks down as we're like 10 minutes into the drive, and we're on like a major highway there, and me and Richard Christie have to get out and push my car over a hill into a gas station. And it's like I'm trying to help the
That's
guy out.
awesome.
He ends up having to help push my car around, and then he ended up getting a cab from there, and we got stuck there for a couple hours.
That's funny.
To get a car fixed.
I went and saw Judas Priest on the Angel of Retribution tour, and I'm sitting in my seats, and my buddy goes, "Dude, look!" And here comes Richard Christie walking down towards his seat. I'm like, "Yo, Richard," and he turns around, he gives the horns. My old lady snapped a picture of him, and we enjoy the show. And then we're leaving, walking through the parking lot, get to the car, we're driving out, and all of a sudden, here's Richard Christie like hanging out with these like three chicks. So I roll her window down. I'm like, "Yo, Richard." He's like, "Hey, man, yeah, good show. Priest was great." So this one chick turns around. She goes, "Do you want to see Richard Christie's ass?" And I went, "Nah." And he goes, "I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to see my ass neither."
He's so Southern, man. The first time I met him, I was like, "God, I talk Southern, but you've got a slower slur than I do, man. It's crazy."
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. He's a fucking funny guy.
Judas Priest related story that just reminds me of that. I had me and my ex-wife went to see Poison in Virginia Beach at
Nice.
the amphitheater, and we got tickets through I knew the tour assistant manager on the tour, so she hooked us up with tickets. And we go to the box office, pick our tickets up, and we're picking up at will call. And who's standing behind me? Scott Travis getting his Poison tickets. He's picking up at will call. He lives in Virginia Beach, so when he's not on tour, I guess he just goes out to the shows. But it's like wow, we are at a Poison show. So,
That's the last guy you would think would be at a Poison show too.
no, that would be Count Ralphus.
Well,
Yep, you got that right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this was fun, guys. Cool.
yeah, this was absolutely
Yeah.
fun. Does anybody else have anything to add before we take off? And I might do some mushrooms tonight before I go to sleep.
That's awesome. I just like in these areas, like I really But going back to Jugulator, what Priest was doing, and then what Halford was doing that same year, and that too, the awful. I mean,
Oh, that
that's
2 album stink.
like that's not even a good Nine Inch Nails album.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not. Good point. He says he wants to
This one
remix
I
it and put more guitar on. He said the original mix had more guitar, but I'm like, I don't think you can save that very much. You
Nah,
know?
nah. Give
And
me
then
them first
and then
two
he comes
white
back
records.
with Resurrection, and you're just like,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God, the metal god is
the
back.
king.
You know, it's just
Absolutely.
God, it's so good.
I gotta say though, I was kind of like, I mean, the way like when Turbo came, he kind of goes a little bit all glammy because that's like the big thing, and then he jumps onto like the Pantera kind of bandwagon. Then he tries to do the Nine Inch Nail thing, that fails. Then it's like, oh, now I'm gonna go back to being the metal god, and it's
Yeah.
I kind of I know he's been at that point for a long time now and stuff like that, but it was kind of weird, like being a trend hopper like that. It's kind of I did like the Halford stuff
Yeah.
though. I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's just one of those situations I think where you want to be happening, you want to be what's popular, and
Yeah.
that's your career, and that's the only thing you know to do. And I mean,
Yeah.
some people do it.
You
And
gotta do if you think you want to sell
I'm just
records.
glad he saw the light and came back.
Yeah.
You
Dude,
see someone
Danzig
like
tried to be 9 Inch Nails for
yeah,
years.
yep, he did it too. But you look at people like John McEntee, like their bands never got huge. They never made a ton of money, but he never sold out. He always kept
Yeah.
to what his heart wanted to do. I mean, some people sometimes your heart just goes to a different place, and I get that too. But the way he went from one thing to the next thing to the next thing so quickly, I just think it's kind of weird. But
Yeah. If you go back, if you watch like when this album came out, which I fucking and I had to listen to this today after listening to all the other ones.
Into the pit.
You look at like the video, like the live videos, and you see he's trying to look like Phil Anselmo, but like
Oh,
how
yeah.
he's
Totally.
so out of his
Totally.
element. It's so weird. Like it's
Yeah.
just like
Remember that video where he was playing on Hanging with MTV with Skid Row, and they're doing delivering the goods, and he's up there with the flannel shirt, and he's all doing like Phil and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like
yeah,
he looks like a
yeah.
cross.
It's just so
He looks like a
weird.
cross between Phil and Mike Muir.
I heard before Halford he was either going to do a country album or a rap album. He was like in between, and then he's like, I better do a heavy metal album, I guess.
Well, now he's sang with Dolly Parton, so it's all full circle.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. He's on the
But that
fucking
two
Dolly Parton.
that band 2 was around the era when he came out. It's I believe that
Yeah, that's right.
project is more a statement than it
Yeah.
actually is anything else.
And who was the guitar
True.
player that you can barely hear on there? Is John Five.
John Five. Yep. So on that note, going back to what Tony Dio said about Ralph Sheepers looking like a Rob Halford action or wrestling figure. That's one dude I wouldn't want to wrestle with. So thanks for tuning in. I love you guys. Like and subscribe. This was a blast. Thank you, Ovi. Thank you, Count Ralphus. Thank you, Christian. And thank you, Tony Dio. This was fucking fun. I love hanging with you guys, and I like
I just
hosting.
gotta put in a pitch at the end here. Bruce Dickinson solo project. I know this is because he came with Tattooed Millionaire, but in this era we're talking about now, he came with Balls to Picasso. I know Tears of a Dragon is the most famous song from that album,
Yeah.
but I really like the album, and Skunkworks is when he really starts to experiment. But
Yeah, I don't like that.
I didn't
yeah,
like
but
that record.
the cool thing about Bruce Dickinson, he went down in '94 to Sarajevo when it was full on war, and he made a live
Yeah.
album.
Great
in Sarajevo in
documentary about
94.
that.
Fantastic documentary.
and then he gets
Yeah.
Adrian Smith back for Chemical Wedding, and that ends up blowing
Accident.
away.
Yeah.
I think that blew away what Maiden was doing at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
When Accident Birth came out, we were like, wow, this is more Maiden than what Maiden's doing,
True. That's
Yeah.
very true. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the Rock Fantasy Files. Hopefully, we can raise enough money to bail Steven out of jail. Good night.
What did he do now?